Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the nominees for their service to our country and willingness to serve, and I also want to thank the families. I know how much the families also serve, even though they might not have the title, so it's great to see so many families here. Congressman Murphy, I want to dig into a couple issues relating to the Army. First, the whole issue of the tooth-to-tail ratio. I know General Milley has been very focused on this. As a matter of fact, I saw Acting Secretary Fanning at the Army-Navy game. Sorry, Jack, about the result there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. But I think it's a really important issue, and we're hearing about it all the time. One example recently, just in testimony a couple weeks ago, the Office of the Secretary of Defense has 77 flag officers. Is our U.S. Army tooth-to-tail ratio too strongly focused on the tail? And if so, what do we do to fix it? I know it's a big concern of the Chief of Staff of the Army as well as Acting Secretary Fanning.
Senator, it's an absolute concern. I do believe the Army's focus is on the tooth, but that does not mean that we need to make improvements in the tail. And part of that effort.
Do you think we're too heavily weighted? I mean, if you look at the U.S. military compared to almost any other military in the world, we're very, very heavy on the tail.
Senator, I look forward to work with you on this. I would say to you that
What's your opinion?
I believe that I'm concerned, and I think that we need to increase the tooth and lessen the tail. And I think, Senator, you do that first by saying, what is the tooth? And I look at studies like McKinsey and others.
Is a brigade combat team, an airborne brigade combat team, a tooth?
Yes.
Yeah. I think General Milley would agree that we're too heavy in the tail, and I want to get your commitment, certainly, to work with this committee to actually focus more on the warfighter.
Yeah, that commitment, Senator.
Let me talk, there's a lot of talk about Russia, and a lot of the members of the Joint Chiefs in the past year when they came up for their confirmation hearing talked about Russia as the #1 threat. One area that has been a focus of the committee is in the Arctic, and the Russians have dramatically built up their forces in the Arctic. 4 new BCTs, just this year, a new Arctic military command, 11 new airfields. Just last week, they announced deploying cutting-edge S-400 missile defense systems in the Arctic. Do you know what the U.S. Army is planning on doing in the Arctic right now?
Are you asking me, Senator?
Yes.
Sorry, just want to make sure I'm clear. I am aware of what the Army plan is that they're looking at, that they haven't made a commitment to yet.
So what is that, just so people understand?
Well, Senator, as you know, Chief of Staff of the Army, Milley, is reviewing that decision, but it's that, are we going to move a brigade combat team to make it a battalion level and not a brigade level?
So again, that's the ultimate tooth, right, for the U.S. military, a brigade combat team, an airborne brigade combat team, the ultimate kick in the door capability. What do you think Vladimir Putin would think of that if we're removing the only airborne BCT in the Arctic, the only airborne BCT in the entire Asia Pacific, while the Russians dramatically build up their forces? How do you think Vladimir Putin would react to that?
Senator, I think that's a hypothetical. I'm not.
It's not a hypothetical.
Well, I
guarantee you he's looking at the issue right now.
Senator, I think I think the Russian president looks at that we have 80,000 troops in the Pacific, and I think he looks at the fact that we have done this.
Taking our only airborne BCT, one of the most strategic assets in the U.S. military, in the entire Asia Pacific and the entire Arctic, and we're getting rid of it. What do you think Vladimir Putin would think of that? When he's building up in the region. Huge.
Senator, I think that's why the new leadership in the Army, which I'm not part of yet, but if confirmed I will be, is reviewing that decision.
Let me ask another question. Because this committee and the Congress are concerned about the Arctic, we had a commitment in the NDAA for an O plan for the Arctic, first time ever. The Secretary and General Dunford both committed to make that a robust O plan for the Arctic. If confirmed, I'd like your commitment to make sure we have an O plan first what the Secretary and the Chief of Staff, or the Chief of the Armed Services committed to saying would be a robust O plan. I'd like your commitment, if confirmed, to make sure we're not moving a single soldier out of the Arctic until that O plan is completed. And I believe I've gotten this commitment from General Milley. A frustration of mine, though, has been when I go home, I hear that our troops they're continuing to move forward with disbanding the 425, which is not the commitment that I received from the Army senior leadership. So I need right now here, if confirmed, you would confirm to make sure we first complete this robust Arctic O plan before we move a single soldier out of the Arctic.
Yeah.
Can I get that confirmation?
Senator, you have my commitment that I will review it and that I will do that as you, whether it was you in the Marine Corps or me as a paratrooper in the 2nd Airborne Division, we went with the rifle range, it's ready, aim, fire, not fire, aim, ready.
Exactly.
And make sure we get after it. I know General Milley's after this. He's going to the Arctic. I'm not trying to break any news, but he's going to Alaska to visit. He's, I believe, planning to go to the JRTC down in Louisiana. And you have my commitment, Senator, that I will review it when I get in there and brief you and the whole SASC to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
But not moving a single soldier out of the Arctic until that O plan is completed.
That's my
the commitment.
understanding
That's the commitment I need from you right now.
And that's the commitment that I believe that the Army, that General Milley's made to you currently, Senator, and that I concur with General Milley. Yes.
Thank you.
Senator, I think you made your point. Senator Shaheen.